This is an old Realistic STA-52 stereo receiver. I got this from a coworker recently. He told me that one channel wasn't working on it. I figured I'd take a look at it. Maybe it'd be a fun project, even though it's probably not worth a whole lot. It's just something to fix, and I'm curious how it's put together. Looks like it's early to mid-70s vintage, and if I'm lucky there'll be some components inside that still have date codes stamped on them somewhere. But let's take a look. Well, getting this apart was easy enough. Any of you that have worked on a receiver or amplifier from this era have probably seen this type of mounting system before, where they'll have some screws with these square washers with the bent down corners that catch on the wood. You take those out and the whole frame slides out of the wood cabinet. And I think that some of these were actually designed to have the option that you could build your own custom cabinet and then mount this chassis inside it, and they would give you the mounting pattern to drill the holes and everything, and you would just take these existing screws and mount it into your own woodwork. So I don't know whether this was intended for that or they just built it in this way, but I remember seeing that a lot on the cheaper receivers and stuff that I had when I was growing up. But this thing looks pretty impressive so far for a budget receiver, because it looks to have an all metal frame and solid metal faceplate and possibly even the knobs. Have to look at those a little more closely. They could be plastic, but nonetheless, this thing's got a lot of metal on it for something that was probably made cheaply. Well, the right channel sounds pretty darn good. In fact, it sounds a lot better than I expected it to. But check out the left channel. This is why you always test a receiver with a voltmeter before you hook up your good speakers to it. That is a speaker killer there. That's a lot of DC offset, so time to hook up the meter and see what the heck is going on. After a couple minutes of testing, I found that this channel actually went from having a lot of DC offset to just having a lot of noise, like hissing and crackling and stuff going, and it would still pass a signal. So something's definitely intermittent in this channel. And testing the output transistors, they appear to be okay, which really surprised me. With that amount of DC offset and all that current draw, you'd think something would have popped by now. This uses a quasi-complementary output stage. Both transistors are NPN, and they're actually a 2SD313, which I've seen those very same transistors used in the power supplies on other receivers, like that Pioneer SX850. I think that actually had like 3 of these in various output circuits on its power supply. So this thing was definitely built with off-the-shelf parts. It's one thing I really like about older stuff like this. You can pretty much still get parts for these anywhere, because you can almost always substitute transistors for something modern and it'll work just fine, as long as you get something with close enough characteristics. But I'm going to take a look at the driver stage and see what the heck is going on, because something is definitely not acting right. I think I've found the problem, and it appears to be in the pre-driver stage, which is TR405. Comparing the voltages between the two channels, I found that the voltage on the collector of this transistor was erratic and not where it should be, and I will show that on the schematic so you can see exactly where this is in the circuit. Here we are looking at the schematic. This is actually for the STA-52B, which is a slightly newer model, but the circuit is almost identical, so I can still use it for an example. Now, the pre-driver transistor is right here, TR405, and since the base and emitter voltages are right where they should be and they're not erratic, I know this transistor is not being told to conduct erratically, and it's not being fed a messed up signal, but rather it's getting leaky and conducting on its own, which is why the voltage on the collector is going all over the place while the base and emitter voltages are the same. So I'm going to pull this transistor out and put it on my tester, and I'll bet you it's probably going to be one of those ones that works on the tester but breaks down in the circuit at normal operating voltage. I really hate when they do that, but I guess I'll find out when I go to test it. I also noticed that the STA-52B uses a different transistor part number. It's listed as a 2SA659, and the one in the receiver, I'll have to look at that number again, but I know it's different. I've got that transistor out of the receiver and hooked up to my tester now. It's actually a 2SA-561, and let's see how it fares on the tester. It's detecting as a series diode network. My guess is it's thoroughly toasted, so let's see what I have for a replacement. Ah, much better. Ironically, now the left channel has a slightly louder and fuller sound to it than the working channel from before had. So I'm going to change the transistor in the other channel too and see if I can get this thing to balance out a bit better. It probably needs more than just that transistor. It probably needs some caps and whatnot, but it's a start anyway. Besides the times that my transistor tester has had transistors test good that still break down in circuit, this is another annoying glitch that it gives me from time to time. It's restarting over and over again when I have it connected to this transistor, despite this being a brand new transistor, and I know it's good. And not only that, but the other transistor, since I bought these as a pair, the other one tested on here perfectly fine. So certain transistors, I really don't know why they cause my tester to do this, and I've had more success than I have had failure with this tester, but it's still pretty darn annoying. Alright, I've got those transistors changed in both channels just to be sure that it's going to be stable. If one channel had gone bad, I don't really trust the other one, so not only that, but I want them to match characteristics. So now I've got to get the wires to hook up my test speakers to both channels so I can give this thing a quick listening test. I know it needs a lot more work done to it yet, and it still has all the original caps and stuff, but I want to see how this thing sounds before I go any farther with it. I gotta admit, I'm really surprised how good this thing sounds. That is one touchy volume control. Well, I can see that there's a couple burned out lamps. The one behind the tuning meter is dead, and also the FM stereo indicator is not working. So I've got to get those fixed. Might as well replace the rest of the dial lamps while I'm at it. And this actually uses fuse style lamps, however they are 12 volts instead of the more common 8 volts like I've seen in other receivers. But I can still get them. And the dial pointer has LEDs on it, which is actually kind of neat. It tells you which band it's on, depending on which LED is lit. And the tuner actually works pretty good too. I'm not even using an antenna right now. It's only using the on the back. There's like this metal clamp that just kind of goes over the AC cord and inductively couples the antenna signal through the AC cord. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen receivers like this where the antenna terminal will be ripped right out of the back of the receiver from somebody pulling on the power cord, not realizing it's attached to that. But this one's still intact, so that's a good thing. So yeah, looks like I've just got to pick up some dial lamps and at least get the dirt and stuff cleaned out of here, and this thing will be functional. Clean the controls, and I'm sure it could benefit from a recap, but at least the darn thing works, and it sounds pretty good actually. I was very surprised by the sound quality on this. I don't want to use any commercial music in these videos because I'm tired of the copyright issues, so we'll keep that radio turned down. I almost forgot to mention the transistors I used to replace the old ones. They're made by Fairchild, and the part number was KSA 1015 GRTA. I got those from Mouser Electronics. And since they're a fairly general purpose transistor, they're easy to find replacements for. And in fact, these new ones probably perform a lot better than the original ones ever did. It worked out pretty well. Hopefully this won't give me any issues since it's already on YouTube, but this is a pretty cool track. Now you know why it takes me so long to fix things, because I spend too much time messing with it when it's not even finished yet. This thing does really surprise me. Wow. Quite powerful too. It's only, I think it's 15 or 18 watts per channel, something like that. I think it said in the service manual. I think it was 16 watts per channel. Anyway, I'm probably going to go ahead and make a two-part video, despite the fact I hate doing that. But I really got to get back to work on other stuff, mostly this Harman Kardon that is just about finished up over here. So I'll come back to this when I get a little more time.